Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're diving deep into one of the most underrated and atmospheric hidden gems of the 1980s OVA era, Daimaju Gekitō Hagane no Oni, also known as Demon of Steel or Battle of the Great Demon Beast. Released in 1987, this standalone 60-minute OVA combines hard sci-fi, tragic friendship drama, body horror, and brutal biomechanical mecha action. It comes from a stacked creative team. If you love obscure 80s anime with grotesque design and a dark tone, this one deserves way more attention. In this deep dive, we'll cover its history, production, plot, visuals, and Ōhata design philosophy, comparisons, reception, and legacy. Stick around to the end for viewing recommendations. First, some important context. The late 1980s were the golden age of original video animation. Daimaju Gekitō Hagane no Oni is a perfect product of that era. It was produced by Anime International Company, AIC, and released by Takuma Japan Communications on December 10th, 1987. It is a completely original work, not adapted from any manga or novel. The creative team is stacked. Directed by Toshiki Hirano, mechanical designs by Kōichi Ōhata, animation direction featuring Masami Obari, and more. This OVA emerged during a wave of biomechanical horror stories. It received limited international releases, but remains obscure today. Now let's get into the story. Set in 1999 on the remote island of Sansara, a UN research team experiments with a new energy source called the Malhoda particle. They fire a powerful satellite laser into the ocean, accidentally tearing open a portal to another dimension. This unleashes a dormant biomechanical entities, monstrous fusions of machine and flesh. 3 years later, in 1987, our protagonist, Takuya Goroza, receives a mysterious letter from his old college friend, Haruka Alfred, and returns to the island. What follows is a slow burn mystery filled with isolation, paranoia, strange behavior at the research facility, destroyed radar stations, and emerging threats. The narrative masterfully blends scientific hubris, tragic friendship, body horror, and eventual explosion mecha action. Without spoiling too much, expect themes of fusion, betrayal, and humanity's attempt to control the forces beyond comprehension. The story builds tension through dialogue and atmosphere before delivering a climactic, brutal battle between two colossal demonic mecha. The tone is gloomy, foreboding, with a tragic edge that lingers long after the credits roll. It's not a heroic power fantasy. It's dark, introspective, and emotionally heavy for its runtime. Visually, this OVA is defined by its biomechanical horror. Kōichi Ōhata's design are grotesque masterpieces. The great demon beasts aren't clean robots, but living abominations of flesh, carapace, claws, and machinery. The red and silver Hagane and its opponents feel truly alien and terrifying. Animation is typical high-quality 80s OVA work. Detailed backgrounds, a cold, steely blue-gray palette that enhances the depressive atmosphere, and standout fluid key animation in the action sequence thanks to a body's involvement. The final battle is weighty, gruesome, and destructive rather than flashy shonen style. Pacing can feel slow to modern viewers. It's very talky and exposition heavy in the first half, but this builds dread effectively. The music perfectly complements the mood with atmospheric 80s rock and electronic tracks. Before we move on to comparisons, let's take a closer look at the man responsible for the unforgettable look of the demon beast, Kōichi Ōhata. Ōhata's design philosophy revolves around grotesque biomechanical horror, the nightmarish fusion of machine and flesh. Unlike clean, heroic robots, his creations feel alive, parasitic, and monstrous. In Demon of Steel, the Daimaju aren't just mecha, they're organic abominations with red carapaces, exposed sinewy structures, claws, and a sense that technology has awakened something ancient and terrifying. Think H.P. Lovecraft. Key elements of his style include organic mechanical hybridization, tubes, spikes, fleshy growths, and asymmetrical details that make machines look like living creatures, or vice versa. Thematic horror. Designs symbolize human hubris and loss of control. The mecha in this OVA embody the consequences of tampering with dimensional forces. H.P. Lovecraft. Influences. Heavy inspiration from horror films like Alien, practical effects monsters, and a deliberate rebellion against the polished mecha tropes. He aimed for raw power and brutality. Complexity. Extremely detailed and ornate, which creates incredible visual impact but challenges animators. You could see this philosophy across his career in titles like MD Geist and Genocyber. In Hagane no Oni, it gives the battles a visceral, dread-filled weight that few other 80s OVAs match. Now that we understand Ōhata's vision, let's see how Demon of Steel fits into the broader 1980s biomechanical wave. Closest comparison, MD Geist, 1986. Also designed by Ōhata, both feature grotesque biomecha and bleak tones, but Geist is more nihilistic and action-driven with an anti-hero, while Demon of Steel emphasizes tragic friendship and slower mystery. Fight, iczer 1, 1985 to 1987, directed by the same Toshiki Hirano, shares body horror and tragic elements, but iczer is faster paced with more sci-fi invasion spectacle. Demon of Steel feels more grounded and melancholic. Genocyber, 1994, Ōhata's later, more extreme work, far more graphic and chaotic than Hagane no Oni, which serves as a more coherent and atmospheric precursor. Cybernetics Guardian, 1989, another Ōhata biomechanical tragedy with human augmentation themes. Very similar vibe to Demon of Steel. Other mentions include Bubblegum Crisis, more stylish, less horror, and Black Magic M66, faster robot horror. Overall, Demon of Steel stands out for balancing emotional drama with grotesque designs better than many peers. It's less exploitative than Geist and Genocyber, but more dread-filling than mainstream mecha. Upon release and in retrospective reviews, reception has been mixed but passionate among niche fans. Many praise the atmosphere, innovative designs, and tragic core, calling it a hidden gem. Others criticize the slow pacing, gloom characters, and somewhat underwhelming payoff. On aggregate sites, it sits around the so-so range, but in mecha horror communities, it has a dedicated following. Its legacy lives on through its influence on biomechanical tropes and the recent Medroid Hagane Mono kit that introduced it to new generation. It remains a prime example of what 80s OVAs could achieve when creators were given more freedom. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Demon of Steel. Have you seen this OVA? Let me know in the comments if it is a hidden classic or too slow for you. If you enjoyed this long-form analysis, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Next time, we'll tackle another obscure mecha title. Thanks for watching and stay legendary. Okay, so here we're looking at the Hagane no Oni kaiju model kit that I did for today's video, and just kind of give it a good look at the details. I did some dry brushing, wet brushing, try to fill in the cracks as much as I could. I had to paint it because I was not satisfied with the default color that it came with, so I decided to go with what they call mica red color. Let me show you that, what I spray painted the main color with, so you can take a look at that. There it is, mica red TS39, and it seemed to turn out pretty good. Get a good. There's the back side. You see, I even had to spray paint the silver. I wasn't satisfied with the silver, default silver color that it came in the model kit. And even the polycast parts, the joints here, I repainted those dark gray. You can see that okay. And so the kit itself does not come with a frame like a master grade model kits usually come with some kind of inner frame. This didn't come with a frame. It did come with some polycast parts that kind of put together the semblance of a frame. I can show you the instructions what I'm talking about. Usually in these kind of model kits, if it's a good model kit, it will come with a nice inner frame, like an alloy metal frame, or maybe even just a standard plastic frame for the body. So I'll show you. Let me put him aside over here real quick. You're gonna see. Here's the instructions, and it's Medroid figure, and it's from the anime OVA, original OVA model kit. Let me show you the inside of the instructions here. Okay. There's all your list of parts as usual. Standard parts. Excuse me. And as you can see, you'll see here there is no real frame. There's kind of a frame here, a little bit, but it's not like a full-bodied frame. Like the legs don't have a frame, inner frame. You're talking about the frame, but as you can see, all the black parts represent a sort of a semblance of a frame. The arms, here are the arms. Yeah, here are the arms. See, there's no real frame, there's joints. That's the joint, it's the ball joint to the arms. So if you're looking for a kit that doesn't have a frame, this might be the kit for you. But if you're looking for one that does have a frame, yeah, that's going to be more complex. And look at the legs too. The legs are mostly red. There is a little bit of a frame here in the leg, not much. There's no articulation in the toes. And there's the parts that come together to form the whole body. It does have a stand, but you have to order it separately. And there you go. One little thing. When you put the body together, make sure to be careful and put those in when you put the upper and the lower bodies together. Make sure you put the O1 and O2 in. You got to be careful with that. You might miss that. So it's always important, like always in instructions, always look ahead. So you might run into some problems later. As always look at the paint schemes. Sometimes the paint schemes are a lot different than what that's what's available in the default colors. And I had to do some, extra painting, like the inside here. The brown color wasn't satisfied, so I painted my own kind of brown color. Let's see, this is the brown that I used to paint. That was just regular old brown right here. This is it. This is what I used for the brown parts, just regular brown. That seemed to work. And then I did some wet brushing work in a brown. So Mr. Color's brown is different than Tamiya's brown. Tamiya's brown is like dark brown, and Mr. Color brown number 7 is like red kind of brown. Totally different. And I also use a combination of yellow too. I mixed the yellow paint when I did the dry brushing. This is just standard flat yellow, and that's the Tamiya one, flat yellow. Exit, there you go. So I use a combination of those 3 paints to do the wet brushing and the dry brushing. And for the silver, I just use standard black, not flat black, just regular old black. That seemed to do the trick. And I like the combination of yellow and brown, yellow and just the Tamiya brown, the dark brown, for the dry brushing around the edges there. Even down there in the brown here, I used some dark brown, and I did the yellow. And that seemed to be different than what the pictures show, even on the box and in the instructions. If you look at the instructions, let me put him aside over here. If you look at the instructions here, you'll see the paint. You'll see they did some wet brushing and dry brushing in the cracks here. But that's, yeah, and that's a little bit different than what I did. They seem to use some kind of maybe like gold in here in the black. There's the brown color. They even repainted the brown. I think they even repainted the red too. So they did a lot of wet brushing here, kind of along the scales here of this hair. Not hair, but the shoulder blades. That seemed to work, but it's up to you what you want to do. You paint it how you like, or you can try to paint it to match the anime if you like. So that's the model kit that I finished. It took me a while to do that. One other thing that really bothered me about this kit is that some of the pegs, the plastic that it's molded in, the plastic that you use, some of it's kind of brittle, and some of the pegs broke off. I had to glue, where was the part? Yeah, like this here. This part I had to glue because the pegs just easily broke off. And the other thing to be careful with it when you paint it, since you're painting with different layers, you're doing it a primer, and then you give it the main color, and then you paint over it with the Mr. Surface to seal it, so you can do the wet brushing and dry brushing over it. Is that you'll have to get your X-Acto knife, or I use this knife, or a combination of an X-Acto knife, to carve out the pegs, to remove the paint from the pegs, the excess paint, and to maybe open up the holes a little more so the pegs can go into the holes easier. So you have to be careful with that, because with anything, when you're painting a lot, it's going to add layers to it, and it's going to be difficult to put the pegs in this, into the holes. So you're going to have to get your X-Acto knives out. I mean, if you were just to put this model kit together without painting it, it'd be fine. You don't have to do any carving out holes or anything. Like the head here, I didn't even paint the head because it was already pre-painted here. So the silver. So and it was pre-painted here with the eyes, and if you can see the eyes. Yeah, it's already pre-painted with the eyes and around the mouth. So I didn't have to do anything. So the parts fit very easily. It doesn't really have a lot of joints that move. I mean, I like the back of the scales here. It's very nice. That took a lot of work to fit the parts in. You had to be careful. The brown part here has to fit into the scale. This one here too. So they all have to kind of match and line up. That was difficult to put in there like that. And there's not a lot of movement here. It's not a lot of articulation. And that's, because there's not a lot of framework. Like the feet are just flat. The ankles kind of move a little bit. I don't want to touch it because it's kind of brittle. But there's no movements of the toes. So you can't really articulate it. Maybe you want to stand it on its toes. Maybe he can do he can be like some lunges or a lunging pose or something like that, with one foot sticking out, another foot behind him, like you do when you do lunges. You can't bend the toes that way, or the feet. They're just flat. So there's not a lot of options when it comes to movability and articulation with this model kit. It is a very different model kit than the usual ones that Medroid makes. Usually they make the Mazin Kaiser ones, but this one was made from one of the OVAs from the 80s,
And they made a lot of OVA anime movies in the 80s, and this is one that they made based on, and this character was in them in the OVA, and there was no manga to this at all. They're just original video, and it was typical of the time. You can see it's very biomechanical. It's, you know, it's just basically just a rip-off of Alien. Basically, the original Alien. That was biomechanical too. So that was a very popular thing to do for a long time, since Alien make your creatures look biomechanical. So that's what this is happening here with this one. It is a very nice kit, though, once you get it together. And it's, you just pose it once, that's it, and leave it alone. Don't touch it anymore, because it just doesn't pose very well, these model kits. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and there's the model kit that I built, and I'll see you in the next model build video. Ta-ta!